Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today I watched the Hannah Montana movie. Hannah Montana, the movie. This is from 2009, and it's an hour and 46 minutes long. And it's about a girl with a magical wig. A magical blonde wig that makes everybody go face blind. It's so if you've ever like I have nieces who have watched all the Hannah Montana episodes, uh, but some of them they have a little bit of problem with like watching Star Wars or superhero stuff. Some not all, but some of them they're like all the any of the kind of stuff that their uncle likes. This is no different than watching wizards and dragons and spaceships and guys with lightsabers and whatever else. This is about a girl who spent I don't know how many years on a TV series on the Disney Channel, putting on a wig and making everybody not have an idea that she is the same exact person when she's face to face with them. And you could blame, I mean, sure, maybe it's not magical. Maybe the wig is not full of magic. Maybe she's not a shapeshifter. I don't know. It's maybe these you could say, oh, they're not very bright. They're not very clever. They can't figure this stuff out. No, no, I think they're all pretty clever. I don't think that there's no indication that these people are not intelligent and can't figure this stuff out. It's just that we are supposed to suspend disbelief in in thinking that, oh well, she's certainly um, fooling people every single time by putting on a wig and changing her dress slightly, you know, or she gets more fashionable as Hannah and more backwoods Tennessee as Miley Stewart, not Miley Cyrus, Miley Stewart, because if she was Miley Cyrus, she'd be even a bigger celebrity. Wouldn't that be a weird Inception bit where you could like triple layer it? Where Miley Stewart is secretly Hannah Montana, but Hannah Montana is secretly Miley Cyrus, and then the world explodes. That's some pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, I didn't hate the movie. For me, this is I've only watched the series and I watched the concert, the Best of Both Worlds concert thing that they had. That's the only stuff that's on Disney Plus right now that I know of involving Hannah Montana. So I I, I've known the concept before. I've watched it sparingly with my nieces when they were little, and yeah, I was like, well, I'm just too cool for this. I'm too old for this, and because the conceit is fairly obvious and just absolutely silly. But it's a neat little fantasy scenario for kids. It's all right. It's absolutely fine, especially little girls who are just like, oh, what if I was just me going to school, but secretly, just like some kids also be like, what if I was secretly a superhero? It's that whole Billy Batson Shazam thing, where you just Shazam and he turns into a big muscular superhero. Totally get it. In this is Shazam for little girls, where they could just change a costume, put on a wig, and become a rock star, loved by billions. It's the way it is. It's the way it works in her TV series. In her TV series, there were like 25-minute episodes, and it's just usually a very thin kind of concept with each episode, trying to trick people, trying to fool people, and trying to not have her two worlds collide. Her and her best friend, who realizes it, I think, in the first episode, by the end of the first episode, who she really is, because she was once her biggest fan of Hannah, but then realized that, oh, she's actually my best friend. That we got that in the TV series. Apparently, they probably went on with that for I don't know how many seasons, and it never got revealed to the world that she is the same person. That these two women, young women, are the same person. Well, they could do a whole lot more in a movie. This, I think, was in theaters, and it puts a cap, in a sense, on that series. It's much more dramatic. It's absolutely still a comedy. Still a lot of broad slapstick and everything else with the brother and everything else, and dad just being goofy dad joke kind of guy. But of course, we know Billy Ray Cyrus, who's Bobby Ray something Stewart, Bobby Ray, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what he heaps the Ray, but he's Bobby Ray on the Hannah Montana show and movie. And if you don't know, Billy Ray Cyrus is Mr. Achy Breaky Heart. He had a huge one-hit wonder back in the 90s. That was a big crossover hit between country and pop music and put him on the map. And if that honestly had not happened, more than likely you would not know who Miley Cyrus is. It's kind of a big deal. And so for a handful of you who don't know this, he was a big deal back in the day. And he's gone on to play, strangely enough, his own daughter's father himself, just with a slightly changed name, just like her. Although she kept Miley and changed, but yeah, last name changed. So, what does this movie do? What is it? Is it just another rehash of what we already have seen in all the episodes that have already existed? More shenanigans, more revolving doors, except honestly, literally, this episode has a revolving door of costume changes, but literally a revolving door in a humongous hinge point scene, like a end of second act scene that finds our hero at her lowest point, and how can she rise above that? That's the end of second act, right? That's the way it works. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. Where she's at her lowest. She has lost everything, and when I mean everything, I mean the trust and possibly the love of the person she loves most, besides her dad. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to spoil some things in this, honestly. Those of you who might be watching this might be watching it out of like odd curiosity that why I would be talking about Hannah Montana movie at all. Others have already seen this movie and love this movie and were wondering what the weird old freak thinks about it. Well, I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, by the way, it's not an innovative movie, but it's a pastiche of a number of different concepts that we've seen in movies over the years, like all slammed together into one. I mean, it's the same concept as like 90% of all Hallmark Christmas movies, except it's not Christmas. She is living her life as Hannah. The movie starts out just 5 miles from here ish, at the LA Forum, putting on a big concert, but she can't even get into her own concert as Miley. Somehow that's like she doesn't get in on her own bus or something. I don't know. But it makes for a big wacky opening sequence where she has to steal a golf cart and race her way in through security somehow and not get killed. And it's silly and goofy. And then she goes backstage with her friend Lily standing by her side, played by Emily Osment. She puts on her makeup and tries on dresses and puts on her wig, and it looks absolutely perfect by the time she steps on stage. And by the way, in real life, there's not a single human being who performs at that level as the biggest superstar in the world, especially BTS, that does not have a team of dozens around them doing all sorts of makeup, hair, clothing, everything around them in preparation of their concert. You just don't roll in on a golf cart, quick do presto chango, slap on a wig, and then bump your head on rigging, and then just rise up through the stage to sing for the crowd. Yeah, that doesn't work. I don't care. That show gets delayed by an hour, and there's a crew of people that goes to transform you, whether you have two identities or not. That's just the way it is. So yeah, that's suspension of disbelief. This is science fiction, people. So what happens is that she gets all sorts of offers and celebrity guest appearances. Tyra Banks shows up. But by the way, her manager in this is why can't I say her name? Vanessa Williams. Vanessa Williams. You almost think she's going to turn out to be the bad guy, but she's not. She's just an agent So, so take that as what you will, depending on whether you live in LA or not. She's the one who's managing a manager. She's a manager, agent, manager. She's basically handling Hannah's life. She knows the secret, and she is doing her best to keep her as Hannah as long as possible because she gets paid more, I think. Yeah. As more Hannah does, the more she gets paid. But Dad is pretty much all about Miley, and he's like, look, you need to go home for your grandma's birthday. Back to Tennessee, back to your home. And he tricks her and gets her on a plane, private plane, not to New York for a big special event, but to Tennessee. Columbia, Tennessee, by the way, is where it was filmed. They actually filmed in Tennessee, which was kind of great, helping build up the economy there. So it's not just like, oh, look, it's in the woods of Southern California. That's Tennessee, like Georgia for Dukes of Hazzard or something. No, it's all of Dukes of Hazzard was shot in Southern California. Just letting you know. So yeah, she goes home to see her grandma, played by Margot Martindale, who like icon, and she's just an awesome character. She's always like an awesome, cool grandma type of person. But if you ever want to see her as a bad guy, watch the second season of Justified on FX, which Disney now technically owns. It's probably on Hulu. Check that out. She's bad news, but she's great. So grandma is there, sort of the moral no BS kind of grandma who kind of puts Miley in her place, because Miley's all about like, oh, I don't want to be here. I love my grandma, but I was tricked into being here, and it doesn't matter that Rascal Flatts is playing in her grandma's living room for her birthday or something. Yeah, Rascal Flatts makes an appearance. A lot of people make an appearance in this, just so you know. Taylor Swift shows up, and she is not even famous in this. I mean, she's probably famous at this point, or she's just like on the verge of being famous. That's why she was in the cast. But literally, they never say her name. I don't know if she's even credited. She just is. She performs on a stage at a local thing to raise money for the town. And speaking of which, like I told you, one of the main storylines here is a girl who's big in business. Like maybe she works in a fashion magazine or something like that, and maybe she has a serious relationship in the city. You know, those stories in the Hallmark Channel. But she goes home for Christmas and she meets the local carpenter, or I don't know, some guy who has a blue-collar job, and teaches her to slow down and appreciate where she comes from and who she is, not that other person. Well, Miley's relationship is with Hannah. It's herself. And she comes home to Tennessee, and she meets Hunky Boy, played by Lucas Till. You might recognize he was in a few X-Men movies as Havoc. And then he one of the later X-Men movies that had Havoc in it, Cyclops' brother. So he's perfect jawline, super handsome, and of course she's immediately taken with him. And it turns out they were old friends when they were kids, but now she's been away so long, and home is California, and she's eager to get back there, except for this boy who teaches her a little bit about herself and starts somewhat of a relationship with him. In the meantime, Dad also starts dating Jan from The Office. I'm not kidding. The woman who plays Jan in The Office, Melora Hardin, she's in this. She's like a local girl. I don't think she's part of the family, which would be another whole ripple to this thing. But she's like helps out around the farm for Grandma, and she's like handy with fixing cars and stuff, which is an immediate turn on for Billy Ray or Bobby Ray Stewart. And so, yeah, Dad starts a relationship with, which is Miley is completely behind. By the way, her brother is there but he's kind of in the background when they need a moment to break the tension and do some slapstick, like a ferret is in his pants, or he needs to be attacked by an alligator or an emu or ostrich or whatever. Yeah, an ostrich. Yeah, they just get what's his name, Jason Earls as Jackson, to just do funny stuff. And by the way, it looks like he's got a wig on. Like, they tried to age him down. He might be 42 at this point, and they're trying to age him down to be like he just started college, so he's a college student, but still, I guess the haircut was too much. Whatever haircut he had might have aged him too much. I have no idea. Anyway, this whole thing, oh, by the way, the reason why she's everything is coming apart when it comes to Hannah and Miley, and her lives are colliding, which it often did, I guess, in the series. Again, I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes, but I got the concept real quick. And honestly, when he had that kind of stuff in the show, it had to be resolved pretty much at the end of the 25 minutes every single time. And she went back to who she was. She was always Hannah. She was always Hannah, and she was always Miley, and the secret was safe. Well, there's a guy who works for a tabloid who's hunting her down and trying to find about any detail, any dirt he can dig up on her, and he finds out that she has a secret. He overhears something, and when Miley is supposed to go to her best friend Lily's birthday party on the Santa Monica Pier, which all teens do, I guess, with a skate ramp and everything. So, Miley is forced to not be able to change out of her Hannah outfit without revealing her identity, and so she shows up at the party as Hannah, and everything goes crazy. And ticks off Lily a lot because she was late, and she was also she took all the focus off of her for her sweet 16 birthday, and she ends up saying that Hannah is from this place in Tennessee, and that causes the reporter, British guy, by the way, Peter, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Peter Gunn. He plays Oswald, and he follows Hannah to Crowley, Tennessee, to this town. And so they have to work around trying to avoid him the whole time. But of course, if she doesn't wear the wig, he has no idea. She walks right up to him, helps him after she makes him fall down, tripping on walnuts. I'm not kidding. After eating hot sauce. I'm not kidding. He helps her as long as she puts the twang on and has no wig. He has no idea he's talking to Hannah Montana. Even though his life is spent following celebrities and getting a real close look at all of them. But she's also a child, and there's just so much that just doesn't work out. Like when he first sneaks into her tent after a show, or tent, or her dressing room, or something like that. Yeah. Just like, dude, that's a teenage girl. You're not Donald Trump. You just can't walk into a teenage girl's dressing room and just hang out and look. Anyway, I got out of the... I'm all over the place now. So I went all the way back to the beginning of the movie again, but she's in Tennessee at one point. And at the same time, Barry Bostwick plays a completely, almost unnecessary character. He's just barely in this. But he plays a developer who's trying to put a mall in the middle of friggin' nowhere. Because malls are still being built in 2009 and not being torn down? I don't know. Either way, his job is to basically gut this sweet little small country town and make it into a mega mall that has all sorts of shopping options and ruin the neighborhood. And of course, Grandma is very much against this, and she speaks out. And so they have to create oh God, I'm almost 20 minutes into this. They have to do something to raise money so that they can't build a mall. Like, if they can raise like $500,000, then the mall can't be built. I don't understand the logic between that. I might have faded out at that point. I don't know. But of course, Miley has gotten around enough to say, oh, I know Hannah Montana, and not thinking that somebody will bring that up and go, oh, why don't we have Hannah Montana come in concert, because she knows her. She might have connections, and that could save the town. Yeah. So that's adding a lot more tension. You just messed up with your life. Messed up your life. And so Hannah Montana has to come to town. And she's already there. So that creates some tension. So yeah, there's I'm getting into all the details of all this, and I'm basically just telling you the movie. But I mean, if you're a fan of the movie, I mean, if you're a fan of the character and music and everything else, you've already seen this. This is not. I'm not really revealing anything to you. But you know, it's the whole save the town with a concert thing. It's the I'm leaving the city to discover myself back home thing. And it's just the dual identity, coming to terms with who you are and growing up and choosing family and love over fame and everything else. And it comes down to even though she's asked to perform at the smaller thing where Taylor Swift was playing, and Taylor Swift's nobody in this. They say, "Hey, Miley, come up on the stage and perform a song." This is the other thing that's totally science fiction. This doesn't happen just one time. It happens at least twice in this film. This and at the big finale at the end of the concert, at the end of the movie. She's a girl who's like, I don't want to do it on stage. Oh no, because one, somebody might figure out that she's Hannah if she's performing. Well, she eventually gets talked into it, and she stands up on stage, and then she transforms immediately with a microphone in her hand, which is a credit to Miley Cyrus. She is not a bad actress. You can't. She grew up having to act, and honestly, when you watch the old episodes, and again, I've only seen one or two, but you know she's a kid that is on the verge of busting out, and she's a kid. She's not a great actress in the show, but in this, she's grown enough. I think she's evolved enough as an actress and a singer as well. She's actually, I will absolutely admit, she's an incredibly talented singer, and I assume songwriter. I don't know if she writes her own stuff necessarily, but the stuff that she performs as Miley is so much better than she performs as Hannah. So much better. It takes advantage of her voice, and of course we've seen her voice change over the years as she became an adult. It's much deeper. And speaking of which, by the way, there is a little bit of a Wrecking Ball scene in this. You know this song, Wrecking Ball, that she did? Naked on a Wrecking Ball, pretty much. Well, there is a scene in this where she is not naked, but she's swinging on a rope, dealing with chickens or something, and it's completely silly, completely goofy. But that's immediately what I thought of. I'm like, you're going to do that again someday soon, and you're going to have a lot less clothing on. But yeah, so that was a thing. So I mean, again, here in this, she's still very much a child, still very much a teenager. She's a kid, so there's only the barest hint of her adult rebellious phase, and that's good because she's here for the kids. This show, this character, everything else, this movie is very much a kid's film, and it's not made for you and me, my age. It's not made for me. It's not supposed to be. It's not. I'm not supposed to get it. I'm not supposed to enjoy it, want it, see it, anything. If anything, I was meant to suffer through it while taking children with me to the film because they can't get into the movies by themselves. That's it. Or watch it on Disney Plus because my iPad told me to, randomly. So, all told, this is kind of a watershed moment movie which puts a cap on the entire Hannah Montana mythos, but still cheaps out at the end, sadly. Because the Hannah Montana myth is revealed. She reveals herself as Miley and Hannah as the same person in front of an audience of thousands. And she kind of breaks down because she realizes that her lies, her manipulations, her ability to try to live best of both worlds, her need to do that is enough to destroy possibly her own love life, that of her dad's love life, and her friendships, and possibly her town, the town that she grew up in, could be lost because of this. And when she reveals who she is, she does a song that she literally made up the night before in the rain outside of a broken down old barn with her dad. And then she turns around and goes, "Hey, I wrote a song." And then a children's orchestra shows up on stage, and her band just knows it and she does this really heartfelt, really good song, and the people love it. Never mind the fact that, like she just said, she doesn't want to. She pulls off the wig. She's still gripping it like it's a living thing, and it's about to break free. But the kids in the audience are just like, I came to see Hannah Montana. My parents blew a bunch of money to get me to see Hannah Montana in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. By the way, if this was announced, it would be more than just the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. Everybody in Tennessee and the surrounding states would make their way there. She's that big of a star in this universe. So she, and they would have made that $500,000 like that. That's not even a question. Minus the cost of dancers and band and stuff. If I was one of these little kids in the audience and be like, oh, you're not going to do Hannah Montana anymore? Screw you. I want to hear Best of Both Worlds. Because I don't want to hear your new stuff. Come on. It's like nobody buys a new Rolling Stones album. They come to the concert to hear the old stuff. Sympathy for the Devil. Play it. I don't care how many of you are already dead. Play it. So anyway, while that resolution where she reveals herself comes to pass, and that's a kind of a goosebump moment. It's kind of a really big goosebump moment because it's not without potential risk for the character, and she's a good enough actress that you feel that in her, that she has a certain level of innocence and need to be loved, and also need to do the right thing through all of this. She's never done it in a malicious way. She's just done it because it's required. Like, she couldn't be famous as Miley at any point. I don't understand why she became Hannah Montana. Maybe that's all explained in the show. Like, because when we first meet her in the first episode, she's already Hannah Montana, and she's super famous. So, and she's like 12 or something. I don't know. So, but in this, the walls come down. She is the same person. She is both people at once, and people know it. And this little girl in the audience, who had actually seen her pull off her wig earlier in the film, who is just sitting alone, nobody around her. She's just hanging out on a park bench behind the building where Hannah Montana is supposed to be hanging out having dinner with people. She sees her without her wig on, but in the dress and everything, and she realizes, oh, this is all fake. But she's also the girl in the audience who goes, I want to hear Hannah Montana. And she's like, but I can't do this anymore. That's not me. It's like, but we came here for Hannah Montana, and it's okay. We'll keep the secret. No. There's a couple thousand people there, and the internet exists, and they have cameras. Don't tell me there's no freaking cameras at all in the middle of Tennessee. I know there's no iPhones yet, technically. iPhones have been out 2 years. But there's phones that take pictures, and it's shown by the fact that the British guy who shows up literally only seems to have missed everything and shows up just in time to see her backstage or like on stage, and takes a picture as she's putting on her wig. It's so it kind of, will he reveal her secret to the world? Like, somehow, I guess at the end of this movie, she gets her cake and eats it too, and it's a bad metaphor thing, and it's also, I mean, having your cake and eating it too is just a poor translation of the original thing. It's eating your cake and expecting to still have it. That's what the original thing is, the phrase. And so she gets up there, she does a bunch of Hannah Montana songs. All this is forgiven. She's still Hannah Montana, and a handful of a couple thousand people still know that she's Miley. And she gets to keep her boyfriend, the hunky Lucas Till, who is, what's his character's name? Floyd or something else. I don't know what his name is. Oh, Travis Floyd. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could go on. I could go on. It's already 30 minutes here. Jeez. Okay, two other things. When she gets up on stage and she gets that microphone, when she's still like Miley in the thing, she creates a song that I don't know what to feel about. She decides that, oh, you know what? I don't really want to do this, but you know what? I'm going to do something. Let me create a hip hop song out of whole cloth as we're standing here, and everybody's going to get it. My girls, my dancing, like a bunch of girls, she's just my girls, like, and they step on stage and they sing back up for a song they never heard before. A bunch of musicians kind of figure out the rhythm, and then she teaches them hip hop line dancing. And then soon, everybody is hip hop line dancing in Tennessee. And there's people of color in the audience for the first time. So it's yeah, this is not as believable as the Avengers. I'm just saying. Just put this next to She-Hulk at the same time. She-Hulk is more believable. I'm just saying. Oh, and also weird, like out of all the weird cameos, I have to mention this. Brooke Shields plays her mother in an uncredited cameo. Brooke Shields, out of nowhere. Kids who are probably not watching this have no idea who Brooke Shields is. Adults know who Brooke Shields is, and that's kind of crazy. There's one moment, she has one moment in a photograph holding a young girl playing Miley as a child, because her mom had died many years ago, and that's why it's just Billy Ray, taking care of her. So, yeah, in this, it's Brooke Shields, and then the picture starts to move like we're at Hogwarts or something. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So she's in that too. I've told you way too much about this. And by the way, if you're wondering if the other cast members, the kids, Moises Aris, and the other ones show up, yeah, they have small parts in this. Nothing big. They're in, they're out. They performed their duty, and they got a check. And so they were in the movie. We will probably never see a Hannah Montana movie ever again, because Miley Cyrus has grown up a lot, and she's kind of left the character behind. I think the Best of Both Worlds concert that they did was a kind of a shedding of that whole thing. And Miley Cyrus is a talented singer of her own right. She doesn't have to be Hannah Montana anymore, and her fans have grown up too. So that's all right. That's great. And I think they can if they can handle her style of grown-up music, I think everything's gonna be all right. So yeah, she grew up as a Disney kid, and as all the Disney kids grow up, they end up not being very Disney eventually, because they're adults, as we all are. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
510.
510. Wow, that's almost the very end. I never expected to ever talk this much, and of course, this is very spoilery. If I had avoided spoilers, this would have been a much shorter thing. But I don't care when it comes to this, because honestly, you were never going to have anything spoiled for you. It's not like, oh man, I really wish that would have been a surprise for me when I eventually go see it. This thing's been out for 15 years almost. So anyway, hey, we got a brand new movie, and it fits. Once again, we've had a lot of really good luck with our Halloween themed stuff. This month in October. It's kind of crazy. I didn't expect this. We had Bride of Boogedy and Hocus Pocus 2, which I picked, and we had a bunch of other horror stuff, and Werewolf by Night, which I also picked, but other stuff was random, which I can't remember right now. But this is a sequel to a movie we saw not too long ago, a couple months. I had no idea what it was, but they just happened to have brought out the sequel just last week on Disney Plus, or at the end of September. So we're gonna watch Under Wraps 2. Yeah, I think it's a Disney Channel movie, or maybe it's a Disney Plus original at this point. But yeah, Disney. I spent 35 minutes talking about Hannah Montana. Oh my God. All right, we're going to watch Under Wraps 2 on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. It probably won't be this long. So